On this episode of Team Building Saves the World.
So you're filling your airwaves with like all the good that's going on in the company. That makes people feel good.
What's the employee side of all of this?
The employee feels valued. They feel like, oh, this person cares about me, and I'm not going to leave for a quarter. Yeah, the higher ups are going through a pretty big learning curve right now. So your hiring issues start to go away, and your retention issues, and profitability then goes whoop, and that's what it's all about.
Hello, team. It's me, your old friend Rich Rinnensland, host of Team Building Saves the World, the show where I speak to the leaders and innovators of the team building industry from all across the globe, trying to find out what about that industry is so important, especially in the world of today. And today, we're looking at the important topic of employee development and coaching up employees with CEO of Human Power Solutions, Sandra Kearney. But first, I need to share some love with my supporters at Team Bonding. If your team is ready to experience teamwork through the power of play, then visit teambonding.com to learn more. Now, team, join me in welcoming a woman who has made a career assisting corporations to increase profitability through holistic success solutions. The CEO of Human Power Solutions is Sandra Kearney. Hello, Sandra. Thank you so much for coming on. How are you today?
Well, thanks, Rich. It's great to be on, and I love the chair dancing. It's really fun.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, I do. I consider myself a professional.
That was very good. Yes.
So, can we start off, please? Just tell my team who you are and how you got involved in this industry.
Sure. I'm Sandy Kearney, and I'm the CEO of Human Power Solutions. And we do corporate training and development in a way that is very different from other corporate training providers. We tailor make our curriculum. We're not death by PowerPoint, and we're very much into companies and employees participating in the process and learning from each other and just having us come in and facilitate some really great content.
So let's start off right there. First off, can we explain to everybody what employee development actually is?
Sure. It's our company. Our main goal for our company is improving people's essential skills, or quote unquote soft skills, and it's helping people develop leadership skills, communication styles, being able to resolve conflicts, time management, all the things that are the intangibles that actually increase employees' engagement in the company as well as their productivity. So the more skills and tools that they have to use, the better off that the company is going to be, and the longer the employees are going to stay in their respective employers with their employers.
Which is, of course, the most important prospect. I mean, can you explain to us when an employee decides to leave a company, what happens to that company thereafter?
Well, first of all, it's really expensive to hire and find and recruit and train, and to have someone leave after a year, you are just throwing money out the window. So that's the first thing off the bat. When that employee leaves, it creates a void in wherever they were, whether they were sweeping the floors or running all the financials. It doesn't matter where people are in the organization. Anyone that leaves an organization leaves some sort of a void where they are. And it also starts to just kind of start to get rid, like the motivation, the morale, everything starts to kind of go down as people are leaving. So, obviously some people aren't the right fit. They're, on the wrong bus, right? That's normal. But if good people are leaving your company, you got to take a look and see what's going on.
Sure. Because you're not only just talking about, I have to now find somebody to replace them. You're talking about the hours of training. Plus you've got that previous employee had so much skill that they have been bringing to the show. And now I have to wait until the new employee gets up to that level. So yeah, it can cost like thousands.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. The studies are out there, but not only that, it's the relationships too. Right. So you lose someone and there's a lot of relationships. So our company, we do a lot of processes. We do a lot of that, but we focus a lot on employee culture and that engagement and the relationships in our companies and leading authentically and having emotional intelligence, all those buzzwords that you're hearing.
Sure.
It is so true right now. What's happening. The leading skill that leaders need right now is empathy. And we're not seeing much of it.
Okay, so what had we been seeing? Because the idea of keeping your employees isn't new by any stretch of the imagination. But of course, along with COVID and then the bailout solutions and so on and so forth that had happened over the past year, we're seeing a lot of people who have just decided they need to change careers, that their career path has gone off on a different direction.
Yeah, if you Google the Great Resignation, that's what's happening. People are leaving because they're finding that they can go somewhere else. They can work remotely if they want to choose working remotely. They can have a flexible schedule. There's no such thing as work-life balance. It's a work-life blend. Like we can work and live, and we can kind of blend our lives together the way that we want to work. I happen to be a quote unquote empty nester, although my grandkids just moved in with me, so not really, but I am an empty nester. And so my hours, I like to run my exercise. My peak exercise time is 2 p.m. I like to exercise in the afternoon. So I might take a couple hours off and then I'll work until maybe 8 o'clock at night. But that's my preference. Okay. If I didn't work for myself, I don't know if my employer would allow me to do that. And that's the thing that the employers need to be doing. They need to be asking, what's going to make you most productive? How can we help you? How can we support you? Instead of trying to, and we're coming back now, so let's pigeonhole you into, what we're looking for. It's not going to fly anymore.
Well, what did we see before all of this started to change? I mean, what were companies doing in the past that you decided needed to be altered?
Yeah, companies were going to the office. Look at the commute, right? The commute that was going on, right? The traffic, people are sitting, they're traveling for training. They're even in Boston before, we would do on-site training all the time. It could never be virtual. If it was virtual, it wasn't working. Okay. And, so we would go in person. So everyone would be traveling from your different locations. They would lose so much time, so much productivity time. Whereas if you could do something effective, interactive, doing things online, even your meetings, there's so much technology out there that you can utilize to make it so that it's really interactive. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't do things in person. 100%. I love doing things in person, but there are times that we don't have to. You can do a leadership training online, virtually, very effectively. Team building, like what you guys do, not so much. We want to do that in person. We want to get people together to be playing together and having a good time. So companies should be, before they weren't. They were just saying, this is the way we do it. You can come in. There's no such thing as hybrid. You can't work remotely. I don't care if you're a mom. I don't care if you're caring for your aging parents. This is the hours. That was what we were seeing before. Yeah. COVID hits. Right. Okay. Suddenly we're hearing babies and dogs and, everything, chaos going on around us. And that was, what's all that all about? I remember the last employer I was working for, he was like, you have to wear, if you're going to do anything virtually, you have to be in a quiet place and there can't be any noise behind you. And, I got dogs, kids,
dogs that are kids. Yeah.
Yeah. And now during COVID, we've had a window. We've been able to open up and become people. Right. So even when I'm talking to a CEO now or a CHR or a VP or, anyone who I talk to, if I hear a baby, I'm like, bring him on camera. Let me see that one, know? And I think with COVID, a lot of bad things happen, but there are some really good things that have come out of COVID.
So what's the new methodology? What are you recommending now for clients, your clients rather, who need to help retain their employees or make sure their employees are getting the most, not only out of themselves and, for themselves rather, but the most for the company?
Listen, ask the question, how you doing? And just shut your mouth. That's really, and I know that sounds harsh, but that's what people aren't doing. They're not really listening or they might be listening, but they're not hearing. Right. So hear it, process it, and have a conversation. Just because what works for you, Mr. or Miss CEO, may not work for somebody else, but are they producing? I talked to a young woman who's very, very talented working for an organization in a way, and she was amazing. And she left. She's like, I had to go. I was told I had to be back in the office. She's like, I've done it for 3 months and why should I have to get up and go to the office when I was doing fine? And she was. So people are seeing it.
So you have that. Well, let me give you an example. Like my brother, I have an older brother. He's a father of 4. He's a fantastic father, fantastic provider for his family. His company was bought by a new CEO, a new board, came in, and they said, this is the way your life is going to be now. Company comes first, then your family. That's just, if you can't handle that, you have to go. And that was about a decade ago that happened. And he seriously sat down with himself and said, I'm a father of 4. I can't afford to suddenly go look for a new job. I have to stay.
Mm-hmm.
What are we seeing nowadays? And how would you recommend that company change itself?
So that company's going to lose a lot of talent.
Yeah.
Because there are other companies out there that are like, I'll take you, father of 4.
Okay.
And that's what's happening is the companies that are recognizing that this is actually real. It's a thing, and the talent that's out there, and they'll lose their people, and the top talent is going to go to other companies.
So what are some steps? What are some processes that you can bring to the table? Say now that I'm that manager, I'm that CEO, what have you, and I'm noticing that, yes, I'm starting to lose people. Mm-hmm. Of course, there's the listen that you had mentioned, which is actually, it's really hilarious because I was just listening to a therapy podcast earlier today that was all about don't be a fixer, be a listener.
Yeah.
Because most people want to do that. When I see that my significant other, my friends, what have you, are hurting, I want to try to fix it for them instead of just listening to them.
If you watch, Brene Brown has a really great empathy versus sympathy video. So
yes.
if you ever Google that, it's wonderful. It really shows that people do, want to fix, right? And at least you have this, or at least you have that. No, it's let's open our ears and just be like, I care. And I'm sorry that you're going through that. How can I help, kind of thing. But one of the things that we've really talked to a lot of our employees about, our employers about, and what we train in our leadership, what we facilitate in our leadership sessions is coming together. If you're using Zoom or Slack, or if you're using any of those technologies where you can create different channels, one of the things that we really highly recommend is creating a good news channel. And the good news channel is really so that managers and employees can give some attaboys to people across the organization. So someone lands a deal, or someone, whatever, gets a great customer service feedback or whatever, it goes in the good news channel. So you're filling your airwaves with like all the good that's going on in the company. That makes people feel good. The second thing is opening up a channel at 9:00 in the morning or 8:00 in the morning, whenever your start time is, for work, and having a coffee chat, a little stand-up huddle coffee chat. Come and grab coffee. Let's talk about the weekend. How'd the Patriots do? Oh, Tom Brady won again. Pasternak had a beer at the Red Sox game in the monster seats. Oh no, right? Having those kind of conversations and opening up those things. And then opening up a lunch channel and saying, hey, between 12 and 1:30, this channel is going to be open, for lunch. So anyone that's having lunch that wants to kind of sit around and kind of gab, come on in. So it's the community, right? So we're talking about community. And then we talk about creating wellness challenges and keeping in touch with people and making sure that we're recognizing some signs of people that are not engaged, that used to be engaged. And, we help managers kind of see, into kind of what's going on. And we've got a whole wellness initiative around that for leaders, just to help kind of figure out what's going on with the employees.
Great. Sandra, this is fantastic. I'm enjoying every moment of this, but I need to take us just a quick second. If you don't mind, I'm going to step away and tell my team out there about a company I'm very proud to know, Team Bonding. Team Bonding was founded over 20 years ago with one simple question: how can employees have a great time while fostering strong, authentic bonds between people who work together? They've created a catalog of innovative events using the power of play as a learning tool and tapping into the correlation of work and play. From scavenger hunts to Jeopardy and so much more, the team bonding of activities, both live, virtual, and hybrid, maximizes the impact of team building with an accent on fun. So visit teambonding.com to schedule your next event now. Team Bonding, when you want seriously fun results. And we're back with Sandy Kearney. Now, Sandy, what are some of these type of processes that you bring to the plate? And more importantly, how do we know when they're working?
So, we like to do employee surveys, ahead of time with the employee satisfaction. We also look at the retention rates and the hiring rates. So if they're, and how long jobs are staying open. Because what we really want to measure is you want your company to have a waiting line to get in.
Nice.
You have to know someone to get in here. Be best in class in culture, best in class in environment. And that's really what we strive for. And so we're doing tangible measurements on, these different factors. How long does it take you to hire someone? How many viable candidates do you have in the pool? How long do they stay? And those employee satisfaction surveys are really important too. And I think the other thing is we always start off all of our training initiatives with doing either predictive index assessments or DISC assessments or something like that, because what we like to do is see what the team is comprised of and then be able to tailor the curriculum and what we're going to deliver to the style of that team.
Can you give me an example? I mean, is this something we're seeing largely in the tech field, or is this just, finance or marketing or what have you?
It's everywhere. So we've got everything from transportation companies to home healthcare to CPA firms, you name it. So it's all across the board. And I think, what we're all in the business is team bonding ourselves is the people business. People are people. Right. And that's the other thing that we really try to drive home. Just because someone's a CEO doesn't mean that they don't get up in the morning, take a shower, walk their dog, right? We all do the same thing in the morning. And that's something that we really try to drive home. One of our clients they have a couple of owners. They're wonderful, great people. And they started going through trainings and then realized, hey, we were not seeing our employees. So now one of the owners has committed to each week going to each site and talking to each and every one of the employees.
Excellent.
And I was like, that's great, because you're leading by example. Now your manager is going to follow suit and have those one-to-ones and take some time to get to know your employees. And I think in the hospitality, the transportation, all that whole arena where you have a very ethnic blend of people, it's very diverse. A lot of times people that don't speak English just kind of come in and get their stuff and they go. And we're really working with the managers to, use a universal language of eye contact, of body language, of showing that you care, taking a few minutes to, listen carefully, as they're trying to communicate with you. And that's really what it's all about right now.
But how do we get there? Like, what's some of the development that you actually do have people practice?
So we have coaching, we kind of coaching forums. We have questions that we give to our managers, especially the new ones that aren't used to doing this. We give them, kind of tips and tools and ways that they can communicate. We make sure that they have follow-up dates for meetings. We set schedules of, at first you're going to have to follow this. But then it's going to become habit and you're not going to need any of this anymore. So our goal is to get them set up with the processes of, we're going to do the 9:00 meeting. These are the things that we're going to talk about. These are the subjects that we're going to bring up. We're going to do one-to-one coaching with each one of our employees every month. And these are the questions that we're going to have. We're going to teach our people how to set goals, even if you're driving or if you're a home health aide or if you're a CPA, everybody should have goals. So we teach them how to set goals with their employees and then how to hold them accountable. So the whole thing is about growing, coaching, mentoring, and the difference between coaching and mentoring and kind of moving the employees along so that their companies everybody gets lifted up, right?
Right. I was going to say, what's the employee side of all of this?
The employee feels valued. They feel like, oh, this person cares about me, and I'm not going to leave for a quarter or an extra $1,000, right? The grass isn't going to be greener, because people don't leave companies because of the money. They leave it because of the culture or the management. A lot of times, if you're not making a lot of money, but you're happy and you feel valued, you make it work. So then I think employees really feel like if they're being invested in and cared about, that's huge.
What can an employee do for themselves with this, thinking along these same lines? Because it's easy nowadays for an employee just to look online and say, how do I know my corporate culture for this company is not good enough? But what can they do to help with the changes that need to be made?
Yeah, it's all self-leadership. So leaders don't need to have a title, right? So when we do employee training, we talk about that. If you be the change that you want to see. So if you're a Debbie Downer or a chronic complainer, stop. Do that at home, do whatever you need to do. But when it comes to the workplace, if you want to build a culture of community and caring, you got to stop complaining. And, and have a peer-to-peer partner. So sometimes we'll talk about have an accountability buddy, and we'll assign people like you're going to commit to all right, I complain all the time. I always, I complain about whatever, you name it. Well, this is your buddy. And every time you do that, they're going to call you out on it. So kind of creating that sense of we're peer to peer, we're here to help each other. We all want the same thing. Right. And it's just having those accountability partners is a really big thing. And the employee can set goals for themselves. I want, just like you would if you want to lose weight, or just like if you want to go back to school, right? Set a goal for yourself and set a plan.
I'll be quite honest with you. My career field was not the corporate life. I mean, anytime I was involved in a corporate culture at all was because it was a secondary job that just helped me afford my career of being a performer. If you have somebody, though, who's in that job, who's in that lifestyle, what should they be looking for?
They should be looking for, as far as a company, what do you...
In terms of a positive corporate culture for them.
Yeah, they have to first look inside themselves and what feeds them, right? Okay. So I'll give you an example. My daughter's 23 and she was working in social work and she decided to go work for a very large financial company, which we all know. And she's like, I'm going to sell my soul to the corporate culture. And, I said, I'm not sure about this because you're going to be sitting at a desk and you're going to be like, it's 9 to 5 at the desk. Right. And she went and at first it's 9 to 5. And then she called me the other day and she said, Mom, once I get through my 90-day probation, I can pick my shifts. And so she said, and I can apply for overtime. And so she's like, I can do my 5:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. and I can still have my day to do everything I want. Okay. And she can now start going back into the office. She gets fed by people. So to be by herself in her apartment, that doesn't feed her. Right. So I think it's like for me, the last 4 days, I haven't had a car. I've been stranded and I've been by myself. And I'm like, climbing the walls. I need to see people. I mean, I love Zoom, but it's not the same, right? Sure. And I was stranded somewhere that wasn't in my home. So I got home yesterday and I'm like, my grandkids are here. Like my friends are down the street, and it lifts up your mood. So I think people have got to look at what kind of culture feeds them. If they're a work hard culture, if they want that structure and they want, hey, I want to know exactly what I'm going to be doing every single day. Look at that. If you need flexibility and, you need to have autonomy, ask around, check Glassdoor, check the reviews of the company before you go on LinkedIn and connect with people that are actually working at that company that you're looking at and see if you can connect with them and just chat with them. So do your research before you head out into what you think is greener pastures, because a lot of times it's not.
Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to get a little personal here. Thinking of team building and getting a company like the one I'm a part of involved with a corporation, what kind of benefits do they actually see? Because I'll tell you, looking back on live events, before the pandemic even occurred, you always get that initial, as people are walking in the door, the eye roll, the exasperated sigh of, oh, it's another one of these. Why is a company like the one I'm a part of, and proud to be, so important in corporate culture?
It's so important. I love the eye roll because what's awesome at the end? Yep. Oh my God, that went by so fast. That was so fun. We're done already? Yeah. I love the eye roll. Bring it on. What happens is as long as you have follow-up, right? So we personally, our company we don't do 8-hour training unless it's team building because that's that interactive, but everything else for us is broken up into 2 to 3 hour segments once a week over time. So we don't come in and do 4 days in a row of 32 hours of leadership, 4 days in a row. It doesn't stick. So developing the curriculum and developing the schedule so that you have little snippets that go down, throughout the year. So it's the ongoing training and development. That's what helps to really transform an organization. So that's number one. The biggest benefit they have is retention. And employees that are experiencing, like with team bonding, if they go through an experience together, right? They're like, remember that experience. Yeah. Last week I did a retreat for a client. And so we went to a beautiful place in New Hampshire. It was gorgeous. And I sent them all out to do a walk and talk. And I'm like, it's in pairs and go out 5 minutes. One person talks about whatever you want for 5 minutes. The next person, 5 minutes. See what you can learn about somebody in 5 minutes. So they all went out and they walked the beautiful grounds and it was gorgeous. They all came back in 10 minutes. And I'm like, what'd you learn? They're like, oh my goodness, we learned so much. I'm like, how long did it take you? And they were like, 10 minutes. I'm like, it doesn't take that long. I challenged them. I said, have lunch, have coffee, do a Zoom, do that exercise for 10 minutes, get to know your people. So you get camaraderie, you get shared experiences, you get retention. People are talking about how great they love working where they're working, how much they're cared about. So that attracts other professionals that want to come into that company. So your hiring issues start to go away, and your retention issues and profitability then goes whoop, and that's what it's all about.
Do you see any other benefits for the company besides just keeping your employees involved?
Oh, your customers are happy.
How so?
Yeah, well, if you have happy employees, it translates to your customers,
Okay.
your customer loyalty, the whole thing. I mean, there's studies about that. When you go to a restaurant and everyone has just been micromanaged and I used to work in hospitality and people are miserable. Like
Sure.
there's a, you can tell. And you go to a restaurant and people are happy. Hey, let me help you, take your order, and having a good time. It's a good culture. Same thing if you go into a bank, grocery store, whatever it is, you can tell the vibe of a company by how happy and engaged their employees are.
So by the other flip of the coin would be that if your employees are not happy, then you have something to work on.
Yes.
Say I'm a manager who is thinking about maybe this is something my company needs. What should I be looking for? And we're not talking about part of the mass exodus of employees.
Right.
But especially in a world of today where we're still, how many percentage of employers are still online versus some sort of hybrid? What do I need to be looking for to show that the culture's not working for my employees and that I need to make improvements?
You can look at people that aren't doing anything extra. They're just doing what they're told they have to do.
Okay.
You can be looking at repeat orders from customers. You can be looking at your, how many complaints you have, what your Google reviews are. Those are definitely things that you want to take a look at. Really how much sick time, how much vacation time is being used. And that could be good and bad, right? So if someone's taking all their vacation time, it's because they want to take advantage of it.
Sure.
If someone's using none, that's a flag as well, because they might be afraid to take time off. So really it's looking at that. And then I think for the owners, you need to be looking at your managers. What tools have you equipped your managers with? Because have you promoted them from being, a great, whatever, right? So
Right.
whatever, they're great. So let's elevate you to management. What did you do to equip them to help to manage a team? And those are things that you have to look at.
What kind of things should they be looking for?
They should be looking for managers that people want to come in and work and they are excited to come into work. Managers that know their employees as people, and the managers that aren't giving you just lip service.
Okay.
Right? There's lots of people that know exactly what to say. Like you come in, you're like, how can I help you today? It's so not sincere, right? You can hear it. It's dripping, right? Versus, how can I help you today? Same words. And it's what that communication looks like. If there's a lot of backdoor communication, if you hear at meetings, if you kind of have that little group of people in the back that are just kind of like, there's lots of signs that you can see, and you can feel a toxic environment, and you can feel it when employees aren't fully engaged. And hybrid wise and virtually is hard, right?
Yeah.
People can turn on their computers, the servers are on, looking at their productivity, and not everything's about productivity,
Right.
But when you call them, are they answering their phone? How are they answering their phone? And just asking a question, is the family okay?
Are we seeing any benefits for the higher ups as well with this kind of process?
Yeah, the higher ups are going through a pretty big learning curve right now.
Okay.
They really are. They're the executives are, as companies are losing people and they're losing good people, they've had to take a step back and do some evaluations. Those ones that were hardliners that we could never do remote work and we could never work, outside the office are now, wow, we can. There are some though that are not learning their lesson, and they'll learn it because they're not going to, either A, they won't be around because the company's going to go under, or B, they're going to lose a lot of their people and they're going to have a little bit of a revolt. But higher ups are also, I think, because of mental health awareness and everything else everything's being kind of brought to light.
Right.
They're becoming more human and a lot of them are becoming more accessible.
Excellent. I hope that's true.
Yeah, seems to be.
Good. Because I was going to say, I mean, we've been dealing with the Great Resignation for months now. Are we starting to see a change in that? Is there any sign that it's either slowing or reversing?
No, I don't see that right now because everything's so up in the air.
Okay.
And no one has really figured out this back to work thing. Right. So, we're doing a lot of workshops on back to work and how to navigate this ever changing environment. So,
yeah, because it still must be so hard because we don't even know. We're not even getting positivity from either the state, local, or federal governments as to what we need to do to maintain safety.
Yeah. We were having this conversation about the mask mandates, which is fine, but sure. there was one city that had a mask mandate that you had to wear masks inside, except if you're getting your hair done. And I'm thinking to myself, but you're breathing on the hairdresser.
That is a weirdly specific incident.
How does that make sense? So that's it, right? So now going back to office in May, we heard going back to the office is going to be, we don't have to wear your mask as long as you're vaccinated, blah, 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 right? But now the back to office is, we're coming back to the office, but now you have to wear masks. That in and of itself changes the culture of a company. Doors are closed because people don't want to wear their masks. So then you have closed doors versus open doors. The whole thing, it changes everything. So
let's try to wrap up here, Sandy, with something a little more positive that we can leave people with.
Sounds good.
What are you seeing as the most positive outcome of all of this, even if we're talking about a year from now or two?
I think the humanness of it all, the connections that people are making, and that the levels of communication and how much open discussion we're having as humans is probably going to be the most positive outcome that we see here.
Do you think corporations are going to get they're going to be built more on empathy and sympathy than they are on just the bottom line and putting the nose to the grindstone, as it were?
You know what? Those companies that do build a company on that are going to have huge profitability.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, give a big round of applause for Sandy Kearney. That's actually a small group of people I'm going to keep trapped under my desk just to applaud you, Sandy.
Thank you.
But I take good care of them, and I know all their names. So that's important. But Sandy, real quick before we actually move on here, can you tell everybody where they can find you if they're looking for it?
Sure. Our website is hpowersolutions.com, and it's S. Kearney, Kearney, at hpowersolutions.com. And our number is 617-575-9959. And follow me on LinkedIn because I'm very interesting to follow on LinkedIn.
Excellent. Thank you. I actually just started doing that with you today. But yes.
Check my motorcycle posts. You'll love them.
You do have some very fascinating articles on your LinkedIn, I will say. Oh, but Sandy, as much as I have enjoyed this, I was telling you in the beginning before we started that, unfortunately, I got to kind of put you on the hot seat here because it is time for my speed round.
All right.
All right, once again, the way this works is you're going to have 60 seconds to answer just a bunch of really silly questions, the most silly questions that I can possibly ask you. The objective is you want to actually come up with the shortest answers you can, something, that's just right off the top of your head. If you're feeling competitive at all, the number to beat is going to be 13. So if you can get through 13 answers, you're going to tie. So if you go for 14, that's when you're going to win.
All right.
All right. If you are ready, once we hear the music, I'll ask you the first question, and away we go. What's your name?
Andy.
How many kids do you have?
3.
Which one's your favorite?
Lucas.
Oh, I'm getting answers. That's amazing. If you could have dinner with anyone from history, who would it be?
Mother Teresa.
Ooh, wonderful. Name one choice that you regret.
Getting married.
Okay. What is your favorite children's book?
The Giving Tree.
Excellent. Would you call yourself a leader or a follower?
A leader.
How many pets do you own?
1.
Dog or cat?
Dog.
Who would you like to see play you in the movie of your life?
Sandra Bullock.
Excellent. What's the most courageous thing you've ever done?
Skydive.
If you could live in a different state, what would it be?
Oregon.
What living person other than family members do you admire the most?
Kim Kardashian.
I'll give it to you, even though that's a shameful answer. No, I'm kidding. Well done. Well done. Are you ready for this, Sandy? Are you ready? Here it is. 13. You tied. You tied for our top of the season. Which means you have beat groups of people in this game. So excellent job. Thank you. Thank you one more time, Sandy Kearney, for coming on. It meant the world to me to have you actually here being part of this conversation. And we hope to hear from you again as things continue on to see how well things have turned out.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks. And thank you, my friends, one more time. That's it. We've reached the end of another episode of Team Building Saves the World. If you have enjoyed this show and want to hear more of things like this, please feel free to find us on teambonding.com/podcast, or you can find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find your favorite podcasts. We are there. There are so many different types of social media you can find us upon at Team Bond Podcast. So just look for us there. And if you guys leave a message, I'm actually still looking for messages that I can replay and talk about right here on this show. So maybe you could be the first one to get that. So my friends, if you've enjoyed the show, please, whether you're brand new or you've been a longtime fan, tell your friends, tell everyone you know. We would love for you to be able to share the information we've shared with you today. But until next time, one and all, always remember that no matter where you are, if you are within the sound of my voice, you're on my team now, and I am forever going to be on yours. You take care of each other, my friends, and I'll see you next time.
It's been said that you learn more about a person in an hour of play than in a year of conversation. So why not put your coworkers to play with the help of the team at Team Bonding? Team Bonding was founded over 20 years ago with one simple question. How can employees have a great time while fostering strong, authentic bonds between people who work together? Their catalog of innovative events includes scavenger hunts, Jeopardy, and much more. Each activity, whether live, virtual, or hybrid, maximizes the impact of team building with an accent on fun. Visit teambonding.com to schedule your event now. Team Bonding, when you want seriously fun results.